I've met most people, but some people might be new and not have their cameras on. I'm Candle Summers, one of the facilitators at Portland Insight Meditation Center here in Portland. And we like to welcome all people of every age and ethnicity and cultural heritage and religious background, socioeconomic group and ability, sexual orientation and gender identity. And it's also really important to acknowledge the land that Portland meditation community and most of us in the Portland area, to honor the indigenous people, that recognizing that the place that we gather is ancestral land for many people. It includes the Clackamas and the Cowlitz and the bands of Confederated Tribes of Siletz and the many tribes, the 7 tribes, I think maybe, is the smallest amount with lots of bands in it of the Confederate tribes of the Grand Ronde. And just acknowledging that all the indigenous communities of the past and the present and the future is really important. The inhabitants of this land were forced to leave for the benefit of us, for the colonists and the settlers, and acknowledging these systemic policies of genocide and relocation and assimilation that still has a great impact on many indigenous families today. And so I'm very grateful for the stewardship of these lands and acknowledge the benefit that I continue to receive, we can all continue to receive, and being committed to remain mindful and make ongoing efforts to recognize their knowledge and their creativity and especially their resilience. Sometimes I like to follow in the news to see what kinds of things are happening in the present. Like the Grand Ronde were able to reclaim over time the Willamette Falls. And so they are starting to do demolition of the old paper mills on the Willamette River. So sometime pretty soon, you know how pretty soon works, but those falls will become more available. And so if you'd like to put in the chat, thank you, Dave, very much. If you know the native tribes that inhabited your land where you sit, put it in there. So thank you for the coastal Salish cultures up there in the southwest coast of BC. Lekwungen, I don't know how to pronounce it. Joy, do you?
Sorry, Lekwungen.
Lekwungen, okay. I did it all right. That's always a tricky thing for us white people to learn how to really pronounce the names of the tribes. So thank you. So let us take this time to include this mindful activity of sitting in our noble position. I'm going to ring the bell. Let's see if I have, yes, I do. I have original sound on. Here goes. Oh, and the Powhatan. Oh, it went by too fast. Thanks, Dave. Ooh, here's another one I probably won't pronounce, but I'll try, Birch. Sout. Ooh, do you know? Do you pronounce the T? Do you know how to pronounce it, Birch? Swout? Good, thank you. Kalapuya. Thank you, Amanda. If you haven't ever done it, go to native-land.ca. It is a wealth of information, and it can really lead you into a wonderful exploration of the peoples and You can go to each of the tribe's websites and see what's happening now, and it's really an honoring and respectful way of keeping our ancestors, the indigenous tribes, in our hearts. Which of course leads us to the honoring of many ancestors, those that birthed us, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, paying honor to all of those who have gone before us, to the Buddha, to the Sangha, to the Dhamma. We have all of this support around us, and we have the privilege of this human birth that it has been said that of all the realms one can be born into, the human realm is the best realm for understanding the Dhamma, because there's just enough pleasure to keep us interested and sometimes relatively happy, and just enough pain to keep us also interested and able to investigate the origin of our suffering. So as we settle into this seat where we are, noticing air on our skin, noticing settling with gravity, however you like to begin your practice. Sometimes it's helpful to let the attention go on the breath, or a touch point of where we notice our hands touching each other, or our arms, or our feet on the floor. We may notice at any of those places that there's warmth or coolness. If we're attending to the breath, we may notice that it's a short breath or a long breath. We may notice pressure, pressure as the diaphragm expands, or pressure of the feet on the floor or the buttocks on the cushion. And as we settle into this place of recognition within ourselves, of being in the present moment, may we also hold ourselves in kindness, in generosity, in appreciation for taking this time to be together. To undergo the training of the mind. And before we can train the mind, we have to tame the mind. This heart and mind is kind of wild sometimes. And in taming, it helps to focus on a single object of the breath at the nostrils, or the breath at the diaphragm, or at the touch point, and return there from time to time when we find ourselves roaming or confused or not quite remembering where we are, and all of a sudden we wake up in this moment, which is a real chance of acknowledging joy, the joy of waking up in whatever moment we are aware in. And so we engage in this practice of being present. Mindfulness at the fore. Awareness sees clearly, arising and passing away, of whatever is catching our attention. We can see these changing moments of what arises in the heart and mind. And we can also return to the single object, but we want to really connect with what we are aware of. Connect with it and be with it until we realize and notice and know that it is falling away, coming together and falling apart. And we can keep it simple, being gentle with ourselves. Gently and easefully allowing this space within us, this space within our minds to not be clogged up with too many demands. Just letting it rest in awareness. returning gently when we find ourselves restless or sleepy or maybe not sure what we're doing, sort of confused. We just arrive again in this present moment. Sometimes it's useful to ask what is happening in the mind right now, or what is the attitude of the mind. But that moment of returning to the present is one of those mindful moments that we can string together with the rest of these mindful moments, making some continuity of our practice. Letting go of what might be unskillful arising in the mind, and just inclining our hearts and minds toward kindness and compassion, toward alertness and energy, investigation, seeing clearly that whatever we might reach out for and try to cling to because it's pleasant, it passes, and we can see this clearly with mindfulness and awareness. Wisdom arises and sees when it's useful to let go of a repeated thought pattern, or maybe even a moving ache or pain in the body. We see it. We may notice that it lasts for a certain amount of time and then dissipates. Seeing that if we grasp onto something that's pleasant or push away something that seems unpleasant, there we create our own suffering by this clinging and attachment. While things really just come together on their own due to causes and conditions. And they leave when those causes and conditions fall apart. And these are joyous moments when we notice this constant arising and passing away, arising and passing away. Sometimes we forget to notice the joys, the subtle joys that can arise in the mind. And so we just begin again, right where we are. reminding ourselves, reminding ourselves, reminding ourselves to stay relaxed. We might notice if there's tensions in the eyes or the jaw, the shoulders, just taking a little sweep through the body of letting the body settle, letting gravity hold us, letting our bones hold us up, letting the tensions be noticed and allow them to settle and flow. In places where we might have tensions in the mind, sometimes we have tensions in the body, being gentle and kind, holding ourselves with compassion. May we sit in steadfastness even through this. May we be with things just as they are. And as we continue settling and letting go of unskillful thoughts, inclining the heart and mind toward skillful thoughts, that of letting go and of kindness and of compassion. We can consider sometimes what are called the 5 recollections, or thoughts that turn the mind toward the Dhamma. Just realizing and understanding and embracing that we are of the nature to grow old. And there's no way to escape growing old. And we are of the nature to have ill health. There's no way to escape having ill health. We're of the nature to die. There's no escaping death. And all that is dear to us and everyone we love are of the nature to change. We can't escape being separated from them. Our actions are our only true belongings. And we can't escape the consequences of our actions, whether they be good or bad. Our actions are the ground upon which we stand. And by thinking about this every day, maybe sometimes it's the first thing we say in the morning or the last thought that we have before going to bed. They can be a kind of touchstone, a reminder. There's no way around these things. And those first three are the basic ones that we know that the Buddha discovered that took him on his journey. He saw an old person, a sick person, and someone dead, which he had never seen before. And it's not that this is something depressing to recollect or reflect on, but it is something that can inspire us to understand the importance of our practice. That we don't look away and we realize what we're seeing. The spice of dukkha. We can't hang on to anything. Nothing is perfect. And we can see this clearly. Mindfulness sees it with neutrality. Awareness sees it clearly. And wisdom helps us see when we're grasping and clinging, and the freedom that happens when we let go. So may we look at these with curiosity. This precious human birth, impermanence and death. And then what we do has consequences. Whatever we do, we're making it stronger. That might help us see the importance of letting go of anger or being hard on ourselves. And how we work on ourselves is very important. Where will we be a year from now? Will these habits in the mind have shifted? What we say and do makes an imprint. And how we think and speak and act has an effect. We want to keep purifying our mind stream, seeing clearly conditions that come together and letting go when we notice clinging. And we have this very breath to see that in. May we let go of painful entanglements, of painful emotions, and not be attached to physical pain. And so it's important how we work with it, with mindfulness, awareness, wisdom. Excuse me. Whatever comes up in the mind can be used as our object of attention, reflecting on the recollections or noticing sometimes hindrances that arise. We just start where we are, over and over again, taming and training the mind, holding ourselves with kindness, with compassion, letting this kind of goodwill, which is doing no harm. Sometimes it's hard to imagine what loving kindness is supposed to feel like or what goodwill actually is. But we don't really have to feel it to understand its power. And sometimes we can just notice, oh, right this moment, there's an absence of ill will. May we find a place in our hearts. Sometimes we can think about a place that we like to be, or a person or an animal, a being that helps our hearts feel open. And even if you don't feel any of that, we can entertain this understanding of lack of ill will, lack of harm to ourselves or others. May we hold ourselves in this kindness, in this compassion. When things are difficult, may we be able to hold ourselves kindly, incline toward heartfelt kindness. That we may be free from harm, have ease and well-being. May this ease and well-being in our hearts include others. Maybe a friend comes to mind, or a benefactor or a teacher. Or maybe it's a broader sense of beings. Someone we don't know, but we see sometimes. A neutral person. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. Be free from suffering. Be free from ill will. All beings. The ants, the spiders, the people sometimes that we have difficulty with. All beings wish to be happy, just like I wish to be happy. May all beings be free from suffering, have ease and well-being. those that swim and fly, crawl, walk, those known and unknown, those seen and unseen. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness, and be free from suffering. I'm going to bring us to a close in this session with a poem by Steve Taylor. Be gentle with your mind. Be gentle with your mind. Don't overload it with demands or fill it with too much information or pressure. Pressure it with too many deadlines until it frazzles with strain and can't work for you anymore. Your mind isn't a machine. It's a sensitive artist. It gets agitated easily if conditions aren't right. And then its inspiration fades, and it can't give birth to new ideas and insights. Your mind is full of flowing energy like a river, but it gets polluted easily if you don't protect it from stress and overstimulation. And then the energy turns toxic, and you feel sick inside. So be gentle with your mind. Allow it to be filled with space, not bombarded with stimuli. And then your mind will serve you with quiet and easy grace and bring you an endless flow of gifts from a place beyond your mind. Allow it to be filled with space, not clogged up with information. Allow it to be soothed with stillness, not bombarded with stimuli. And then your mind will serve you with quiet and easy grace and bring you an endless flow of gifts from a place beyond the mind. Anicca vata sankhara upadavaya domino upakitawa merchanti te samvapasamo sukho. All conditioned things are subject to impermanence. They arise and pass away. And seeing this clearly with mindfulness brings the greatest happiness, which is peace. Thank you so much for your practice. And the goodness of this practice, may it be of benefit to all sentient beings. It brings me great joy to share this time with you and to know that we are inclining the heart and mind toward peace and freedom and training and lack of ill will in ourselves. This can benefit all beings. And with that,